those of you guys that actually watch my stories, you know that I posted on my stories about 3 days ago about Instagram marking one of my posts as misinformation. And so I did a little digging, right? Because I'm like, that's never happened to me before. Like, I've never had one of my posts be tagged as misinformation. And so I'm digging deep into it, right? And I'm going to share these screenshots with you guys, by the way, in the next couple slides. But it says my post is missing context. That's one, right? It's saying my post is missing context. And the post that they're referring to is this repost that I put on my story. And the headline reads, California legislature passes bill reducing penalties for oral anal sex with willing children. The headline alone is like, what the fuck do you mean willing children, right? That's just one, right? But anyways, they marked that post as misinformation. And then my caption underneath that story said, you're really fucked in the head if you think this is okay in any way, shape, or form. Wood chippers are just about $1,000 starting price. Just saying. I posted that on August 6th, right? August 9th, they marked it as misinformation. And so when they mark your post saying that it has misinformation or it's missing context, it gives us a quote unquote full fact check as to why it was labeled as misinformation. So I click that and I do a little bit of reading, right? And so when I click that, it takes me to the AFP fact check website. And specifically for my post, right, this is what they put. Facebook and Instagram posts shared thousands of times make false and misleading claims about California Senate Bill 145 and the ability of courts to keep children safe from sexual predators. The bill does not decriminalize statutory rape. It is intended to end what the bill's backers say is discrimination against LGBTQ youth in a law governing the state's sex offender registry. Now, this is just the first paragraph. And what kind of makes me upset is the fact that they're saying the California Senate Bill 145, that's the name of the bill, is actually intended to help children who are victims of sexual abuse, right? To keep them safe from sexual predators. That's what they're saying the bill was intended to do, right? And then literally the next sentence, the bill does not decriminalize statutory rape. Well, no fucking shit. It doesn't decriminalize statutory rape because we're talking about children. Like children. We're not talking about kids who are 16 having sex with an 18-year-old. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about adults, okay, 25 years plus, probably 30 years plus, a lot of times 40 years plus, raping kids, raping them, not statutory rape, okay, not having sex with willing children. What children is cognitive enough to be willing to do something like that? They're not cognitive enough to make any decisions, which is why parents are involved in most of the children's lives. Like, you need permission to go to a fucking field trip from your parent. Why? Because you are not cognitive enough to know if you are able to go on this field trip or not. And they have parental supervision there as well, not just teachers. Why? Kids cannot be left alone. They're kids. Even something as simple as that, right? All right, so I didn't even bother to read the rest of the fact check because that alone, that first paragraph pissed me off and makes no fucking sense. But that's why they said my post was marked as misinformation, because apparently it's not to give these pedophiles a slap on the wrist. It's actually to protect the LGBTQ youth. How the fuck is a bill proposed pretty much to give pedophiles a slap on the wrist supposed to protect the LGBTQ youth? That doesn't make sense to me. You guys let me know in the comments if that makes sense to you, because that shit's not clicking in my head. Like, that makes no sense. So again, I stopped reading from there. And then I started doing research on what the actual bill is, right? Because they're saying my shit was wrong. So naturally, I'm looking it up to see, well, okay, what was I wrong about, right? So this is from the Los Angeles Times, by the way. The headline reads, Newsom signs bill intended to end discrimination against LGBTQ people in sex crime convictions. Los Angeles Times, everybody. And let's just read the first few paragraphs, right? This was in Sacramento. Discrimination against LGBTQ people in sex crime convictions will be outlawed under a new law signed by Governor Gavin Newsom late Friday evening. The measure, Senate Bill 145, will amend existing state law that allows judges to decide whether an adult convicted of having vaginal sexual intercourse with a minor should register as a sex offender in cases in which the minor is 14 years or older and the adult is not more than 10 years older than the minor. So it's like these loopholes, these age limits, right? Restrictions that you'll be able to essentially rape a kid, right? As long as they're 14 years or older. And, you'll get a slap on the wrist. You won't even have to be registered as a sex offender just because you're part of the LGBTQ community. Because that makes fucking sense, right? And so it reads, currently, adults who are convicted of having oral or anal sex with a minor, rape, not anal sex. It's not sex. Sex is consensual. These words that they use, man, it really pisses me off because it's not sex. There's nothing consensual about having sex with a minor. It's rape. Again, currently, adults who are convicted of having oral or anal rape with a minor under those circumstances are automatically added to the state's sex offender registry, as they should. SB 145 will eliminate automatic sex offender registration in those cases and give judges discretion to make that decision. Newsom's decision to sign the legislation promises to have both a state and national political impact. Along with the opposition from Republicans in the state legislature, supporters of President Trump and far-right conspiracy theorists have seized on the bill in an attempt to use the measure as a political wedge issue and rallying outcry, with some falsely claiming on social media that California is legalizing pedophilia. So they're saying they're not legalizing pedophilia. That far-right conspiracy theorists, Trump lovers, right? Because Trump is like the most hated man in America, according to them. So they're using Trump to say that they're not legalizing pedophilia. But if somebody is literally raping a child and they happen to be a part of the LGBTQ community, you're basically telling them they don't have to register as a sex offender. According to the state of California, you're not a sex offender. Do these people not have common sense? Do they think we're so stupid that we're not going to put two and two together? Or do they know that we're not stupid, but nobody's going to do anything against Newsom, against the California legislature in particular, since that's what we're talking about? I don't know, but my post was not misinformation. It was not misinformation. And it goes back to Andy Frisella talking about how Instagram and Facebook, man, you get censored like a motherfucker. And it's so true. You really do. You could be saying shit with evidence, like with facts. Like, I got receipts for days, and they're still gonna mark your shit misinformation because they can. And then the same AFP fact check, right, that they sent to me, the full page to tell me why my shit was misinformation, it literally says that information came from independent fact checkers. Independent fact checkers. Who the fuck made y'all the fact checking police? Who gave you that badge? Who gave you that authority? Where are your credentials? I want to see where you're getting this information from, because they also don't list sources. They don't list links or resources as to where they're getting their information from. They're just saying your shit is misinformation, marking it as misinformation. And the more derogatory marks you get on your account, they could potentially shut down your Instagram or your Facebook, which is one of the 2 most popular platforms where you can actually reach people to give them the actual real information. And it's just crazy to me. Like, it really is crazy to me, because it's never happened to me before until now, that I'm able to really see, like, yo, these people really have an agenda, and it's not for the right things. I always thought growing up that kids would be a line that will never be crossed. A line that we can all unify on. Everybody. And I've been proven wrong. Sadly. But I'm telling you right now, while Crystal Vega is alive, this shit is not gonna fucking be normalized. And I don't care if I have to fight Instagram, if I have to fight Facebook, these tech companies, these media companies. I don't care. I'm not shutting up about this. Kids, that's where I draw the fucking line. Everything else, we can agree to disagree. But this is not what we're going to do. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do to unite people? To tell them, to show them that you know this isn't okay. Don't be afraid to speak out on it. I'm not a millionaire. I'm far from it. I don't have assets, right? They could easily come after me and shut my whole shit down. Very easily. They could. And I'm sure they know that. That's why I don't mind saying that. But I'm still not going to be quiet. I have a voice, and I intend to use that voice to the fullest extent. I'm hoping to educate you guys. I'm hoping to bring you various opinions and mindsets and perspectives that may help you change your perspective, and not necessarily change, but maybe broaden your perspective on certain things. And the third thing is I just want to connect with more people. And I feel like what's a better way to connect with more people than to have a platform where you're able to freely speak on things. And we may not agree on everything. That's fine. But we can at least have a conversation and see where each other's coming from, even if afterwards I still don't agree with you. That's okay. We're not all going to agree. Okay? But I'm hoping you guys watching this, you guys can at least agree with me that kids is where we draw the line. And this is something that is truly a major issue in not just the United States, but in the world. And we need to do everything we can to not only be aware of these bills that these sick fucks are passing right underneath our radar, thinking we're not paying attention. We need to do better, and we need to be more involved. Like I don't like politics, right? Like, I didn't get into podcasting to talk about politics. I fucking hate politics. It still doesn't make sense to me. But the reason why now I have to be involved, I feel like I need to be involved and educate myself, is because there's so much shit going on. And the government and the people, the way that was even all supposed to work out and how it was intended to work out, is the people are supposed to be involved in not just elections, but in the passing of bills for federal and state levels. We were all supposed to be involved in those, but no one even cares. Like, no one goes and attends these meetings with our legislators, people who are representing us. And I'm not going to lie, I was one of those people that I just voted for the president. Like, whenever I saw governor, senator, congressman, house representative, I just fucking checked that shit off. I didn't give a fuck who it was. And because I was Democrat, you feel me? And like, I didn't educate myself. And you have to educate yourself to know who you're voting for, especially on a state level, because that's what you're gonna feel the most. On a federal level, of course that matters, but on a state level, that's intimate. You need to be careful who you're voting into office. And don't just vote for them because they're for your party. I'm not a Democrat and I'm definitely not Republican. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm Crystal. I am pro fucking freedom. And that's unfortunately not a political party. But it is what it is. So we need to all do better, educate ourselves, and actually stop being lazy and take action.